So almost a year after the burning down of the palace of wax, the Pandavas knew that they had to get into the mainstream. How was on their mind, how to get back. If dead people, they've been presumed dead, if dead people go back, somebody will help them to continue the act. So they're cautious, they're planning how to get back. At that time, they're in the forest and they come near a lake and they want to drink water. And a Gandharva who owns the lake calls Arjuna for a duel. Having known that Arjuna is a great archer, he said, "You duel with me before you drink water from my lake." This Gandharva, whose name was Angaraparna, after a fierce duel, Angaraparna was defeated and he became unconscious. Arjuna, as it was the dharma of the warrior, has to put him to death because leaving a man defeated is putting him to shame. So a Kshatriya usually does not want to live after he's been defeated, he would rather die. So Arjuna gets ready to behead him. Then Angaraparna's wife, Kumbinashi, comes and begs Arjuna, he does not belong to your clan, he is not a Kshatriya. He has no problems of being defeated, he does not have to die. And as a wife, I'm begging you, please spare his life, because his dharma is not yours, nor your dharma his, so he need not be killed. So Arjuna spares his life, and for this, when Gandharva comes back into his consciousness, he offers many gifts to Arjuna, including 100 horses and other things which a Kshatriya values, and he tells them 100 stories of wisdom. Out of these 100 stories, we will pick one which is significant for the Pandavas and their future. Angaraparna narrates a story of Vasishta's son, the sage Vasishta, the legendary sage who plays a very important role in the Ramayana. His son, Shaktri, was traveling through the forest and he came to a stream which had a narrow bridge to cross. When he was about to cross, a king, whose name was Kalmashapada, came upon the bridge and one of them had to make way. As the king had entered the bridge before Kshatri, he said, "I came on first, you make way for me." Kshatri, who is full of pride about who his father is, he says, "You make way, I'm a Brahmana, I am higher than you." And before anything can happen, Kshatri, who is too full of pride, curses the king and says, "May you become a Rakshasa." King becomes a Rakshasa and immediately he has cannibalistic tendencies within him and he eats up Kshatri. So Angaraparna narrates this story and Kshatri's son, Parashara, the sage Parashara who is the father of Vyasa, when he grows up under his grandfather's tutelage, Vasishta becomes so despondent of having lost his son, particularly lost him because he empowered him with the ability to give boons and curses. He gave the wrong curse to the wrong man and he got eaten up himself. And when Parashar, his son, comes to know, he wants to take revenge. He wants to perform a yajna which destroys all the cannibalistic tribes in the land. Then Vasishtha stops him and he says, "This is no good. Your father cursed somebody and that curse ate him up. Now you are trying for revenge. This revenge will not breed anything good. It will lead to a spiral of revenging and avenging, and endlessly it will go on. You pursue what is valuable for you, don't pursue him." So taking this advice, Parashara becomes a great sage who fathers Vyasa, and Vyasa plays an important role in the whole story of Mahabharata. Having told this story, Angaraparna told them this story because he saw the rage and hatred in the hearts of Pandavas. They've been many times been deceived of many things. Above all, many times attempts have been made upon their life, and particularly this time a blatant attempt on all five of them, including their mother. Their raging within themselves were revenge. So having an insight into their hearts, he told them this story and he told them, get yourself a priest, get yourself a wife, get yourself your own land and build your own kingdom. Don't waste your time and energies in revenge. You can be kings. Having heard this story, they become little more cautious about their revenge, but their revenge doesn't leave their hearts. So first thing is, they will get themselves a priest. Devalamani's son, Dhaumya, will be in a nearby ashram. They will go and plead with him, please become our family priest. In Dwapar Yuga, a family priest was very important because of the power of yagnas. Constantly yagnas needs to be performed for every occasion. There was a ritual to be performed, and they found Dhaumya a very competent and efficient priest who walked with them right through from that moment onwards. And then they heard that King Drupada of Panchala has called for a Swayamvara. We have already gone into what is a Swayamvara, that a princess is to choose her husband. To say something about Drupada, Drupada is the king of Panchala, and as a young boy, he studied along with Drona, with the sage Bharatvaja, who was Drona's father. So Drona's father, Bharatvaja, was a guru both for King Drupada and Drona. Both of them became close friends. When they were 13 years of age, one day, the boys were so close to each other. One day, Drupada and Drona promised each other, whatever wealth, whatever we achieve in our lives, we will share it with each other. After their training was over, Drupada went back to become a king. Drona is the son of a sage, so he went out to make his own life, and he couldn't make much of it. He got married to Kripi, who was Kripacharya's sister, and he bore a son whose name is Ashwatthama. He was called Ashwatthama because when he was born, he kind of laughed in such a way that it sounded like a horse. When the horse is happy, the sound that a horse makes, it sounded like that. So he was called Ashwatthama. And when the boy was young and he went out to play in the town, and they were extremely poor, and the boy had never seen milk because they were so poor, the parents could not give him milk. Being pastoral societies, milk was almost like the staple food, but this boy was so poor, they had no land and no cows, so they had not seen milk. The boy has not seen milk. When other boys were drinking milk, he asked, what is it? So they suddenly realized this boy has not seen milk, and they mixed some rice dough in water, mixed it up and gave it to Ashwatthama and said it is milk. He drank it happily and he thought it's milk. So they all started making fun of him that this boy doesn't even know what is milk. So when Drona came to know about this, he became very, very angry and desperate. Then he remembered that his friend Drupada, who is now a great king, had promised him that he will share everything in half. So he went back to Drupada's court and he said, well, you remember the promise, you must give me half of your kingdom. Drupada looked at him. Many years passed by and he said, see, you are a poor Brahmin, you are incensed because of the insult that happened to your son. I will give you a cow, take it and go. If you want more, I will give you 2 cows, take it and go. What is this? A Brahmin coming up and asking me for half a kingdom? Drona said, I have not come for charity, I have come in friendship. We are friends. I am asking for half of your empire, not for a cow. I don't want charity from you because we are friends. Then Drupada said, friendship happens between equals. An emperor and a beggar cannot be friends. You can only take charity. If you want, take the cow, otherwise leave. So Drona swore there, this will be avenged. And he started burning for revenge. Because of this, he acquired the astras from Parashurama and came to Hastinapura and started training the Kauravas and the Pandavas in various martial arts. And when they achieved a certain level of competence and the Kauravas and Pandavas were eager to offer some kind of offering to their guru, the first thing that Drona asked for is, I want you to go and capture Drupada alive and bring him to me. So uncalled for, without any issue, the Kaurava princes and the Pandavas went and attacked Panchala, Kampilya, which was their capital. The Drupada's army or the Panchala army was not even ready. They didn't understand why are these guys simply coming and attacking without any issue. So when the Kauravas attacked, 100 brothers went to attack the city with great fervor. Pandavas stayed back and watched. When they realized they're being attacked, the common citizenry, the soldiers were not ready. Common citizenry, men and women, came out of their homes with kitchen knives and sticks and ladles and anything and everything that they could lay their hands on and fought the Kauravas and beat them back. The Kaurava brothers came shamed because they were beaten down by common people with kitchen knives and ladles. Then Drona said to Arjuna, it is you who has to offer the Guru Dakshina, you must get Drupada. So Bhima and Arjuna went, quietly slipped into the city, captured Drupada and tied him up, bundled him, brought him and laid him at Drona's feet. Drupada looked at Drona, it's his doing that these young boys bind him up and bring him as a prisoner. He's a great warrior himself. They bring him and throw him at Drona's feet. And now Drona says, now we cannot talk about sharing because we are not equals. You are lying before me as a slave. I am here and I have received you as a gift from my boys. I can do whatever I please, but I have been your friend, I will spare your life. For a Kshatriya, the worst thing that you can do is, you conquer him and tell him, I will spare your life. He wanted to do the worst thing to him. If he had killed him, he wouldn't mind. But telling him, I will spare your life is the worst thing to do. And that too, a Brahmana telling him, I'll spare your life was the worst thing for him to happen. And he said, half of your kingdom is mine, the other half I will give it to you as a friend. and I'll spare your life. Go and rule the other half. This part of the kingdom is mine. Drupada, burning in shame, burning in rage, burning with hatred, went back to his kingdom, head down, never able to lift it in front of his citizenry because he was taken like a slave and thrown at somebody's feet, and now he has come back to be a king. That's not something that people accept. He prayed to Shiva and he said, I want a child. I want a child who will go and take revenge. Because now, once he's lost battle with somebody, he cannot call him for a duel. He's lost the right to call him for a duel. So he says, I want a child who will fight and conquer Drona. A child was born, but it was a girl. He couldn't believe this. He asked Shiva that, I want a child for revenge, and a girl is born. How is this girl going to take revenge? So, from day one, he started dressing her up like a boy. He didn't want people to know that she's a girl. He started pretending that he's a boy, started training her as if she's a boy. This girl was Amba, reborn. Now, he not only wanted to take revenge on Drona, he wants to take revenge on the whole Kuru clan because it's these boys who captured him. So he wants to kill Drona and the Kuru clan. And the main aspect of the Kuru clan, the pillar of the Kuru clan is Bhishma. If you knock him down, the whole thing will collapse, he knows that. So because he wanted to revenge against the Kuru clan, when Shiva blessed him, Amba was born as Drupada's daughter. And all this happening, when he saw it's a girl and he's disappointed, he's training her as a boy, but he can't deceive himself, he deceived the world around him, but within himself he knows it's a girl. And at the age of 14, this Amba, who was then known as Shikhandin, disappears. They're distraught and look for everywhere, but she's gone. And she goes into the forest to train by herself because she's come of age and she wants to hide it. She does not want anybody to know that she's a girl. And seeing her plight, a yaksha in the forest whose name was Stunakarna helps her. He says, I will give you manhood. And using his magical powers, he makes her into a man. He says, this will be with you only to save you from the situations. But when real situations come, you will become a woman once again. It'll see you through. In the palace situations, in the social situations, in real terms, you're still a woman. But Drupada is burning for revenge. He lives with a single-minded purpose. The only purpose in his life is somehow to bring Drona to shame and Kuru clan down. So for this, when he starts looking for somebody who can perform a yajna for him, which will bear him children who will be capable of defeating Drona and the Kuru clan. He knows who Drona is, he knows his capabilities, so he calls for a putra karma yajna and he gets Yaja and Upayaja, who are well-known tantrics of the time, to perform this yajna for him. They perform an elaborate yajna and 2 children are extracted from the fire. One is Drishtadyumna. When he prays, he asks, I want one to kill Drona, I want a boy to kill Drona, and I want a girl who will divide the Kuru house. So they extract a boy and a girl from the fire. These two were not born of a man or a woman, they were born of fire, Drishtadyumna and Draupadi. And Draupadi is born. And now she's grown to a certain age and she and her brother Drishtadyumna were brought up once again with a single purpose. Her father from their very infancy went on telling them, their only purpose of life is to take revenge on Drona and bring down the Kuru clan. So a great enemy is growing parallel to the Kuru clan. As the fame and struggles of the Kuru clan happening within themselves, a very formidable enemy is growing in the neighborhood. Drupada wants his daughter to be married to the greatest archer, the greatest warrior, so that they can take revenge. He is looking. He does not find anybody who can beat Drona. So when he comes to hear of all the exploits of Krishna, the battles that he fought, 17 times Jarasandha attacked Mathura. 17 times Krishna and Balarama beat them back. A great army was beaten back again and again with guile and valor. Though the Yadava army was 1/10 of the Jarasandha's army, repeatedly they beat them. 18th time, Jarasandha gathered few other kings from the west. The kingdoms mentioned are in the present region of Afghanistan, and kings from that region came to help Jarasandha, and armies surrounded Mathura from all directions. So Krishna saw, if he continues to fight, now an overwhelming military force has surrounded Mathura and Yadavas will be annihilated. So he convinces the whole population for an exodus. They leave Mathura and travel 1700 kilometers down to Dwaraka. Hundreds of people die in this exodus. Traveling through Rajasthan, which is a desert, they go down to the south of Gujarat, which is Dwaraka, and they want to build a city there. But when they come there, Krishna sees there is a well-built city in a small island in Dwaraka. So he feels strategically it is best that they go into this island city. This city was ruled by a king, Revata, and King Revata had a daughter whose name was Revati. Because Revata wanted to acquire, he belonged to Satyuga, when human beings were much bigger in their physical stature. And he went to Devaloka to ask for a boon. That is, he wanted a great Deva to marry his daughter, a Deva to be born as a Kshatriya and marry his daughter. He went to ask for a boon. Because of the time difference between this Bhuloka, the planet, and Devaloka, because the time in Devaloka is very different than what it is. Let me tell you a little joke. It happened. A man from Texas went to heaven, got an appointment with God, and asked God, "God, is it true that what is 1,000,000 years for us is just one moment for you?" God said, "Yes, son, it is so." Then he asked, "God, is it true? What is $1 billion for us is just a penny for you?" God said, "Yes, my son, it is so." Then he asked, "God, can I have a penny?" God looked at him and said, "Wait a moment." So this happened to Revata. Because of this time difference, he went and asked, a Deva should be born as a Kshatriya and he should marry his daughter. Because this short visit of a day was 1,000,000 years on the planet, when he came back, yugas had rolled over many times and human beings had become much smaller in stature, and he found Revati was too big for any man. So, They did not know what to do. So Revata was in despair because there is no man on the planet for his daughter. Then Krishna and Balarama came. Balarama was of immense size. In spite of that, he had to look up at Revati because she was so tall. So Balarama used a plough always. He was a farmer, and also when he fought battles, he used his plough only as a ploughing plough, as a weapon. So he used his plough and pulled Revati down. With Krishna's help, he reduced her size, and strategically Krishna got Balarama married to Revati, and they occupied Dwaraka. The Yadavas moved into Dwaraka, and Krishna went about clearing up the surrounding small kingdoms. Effortlessly, he conquered all of them. Wherever conquest was needed, he conquered. Wherever he could include them by marriage, he married. He married dozens and dozens of princesses so that peace was made. You need to understand, those days, because people held a blood relationship as the most important relationship, the only way you could make peace with somebody is create a blood relationship. That you give your girl to somebody else, that means you can't make war with them anymore. So he went about this, and he also abducted Rukmini, defeated Rukma, who was a great warrior, and defeated Shishupala, who was a very great… he was known as the bull of Shedi, and he defeated him in a duel. Because of all this, and he also had shamed Jarasandha once in a duel. Because of this, his valor and his skill as a warrior had spread across. So Drupada thought, Krishna is the best man for his daughter Draupadi. And he sent word to Krishna that, I want you to marry my girl. Krishna tried to dodge it. He tried to dodge it in many ways, but now the problem is, if you refuse, that will be an affront. That means he'll call for battle. So in a very tricky way, he avoided the whole situation, and because he did not want to marry Draupadi, he said, I am just a cowherd, how can I marry Draupadi? She is a queen. He married many other queens, but the scripture goes about describing the most beautiful woman on the planet. She was dark as velvet, but she is considered as the most beautiful woman, and the scripture says, when a woman is this beautiful, invariably she will cause problems. She is so beautiful, invariably people will fight over her, countries will be divided, brothers will fight, things will happen. Draupadi comes for marriage, and Krishna somehow convinces Drupada the best thing is to arrange a Swayamvara. But Drupada says, I don't see any warriors who are capable of doing this. But Krishna says, a woman like Draupadi, who is so fiery, should make her own choice. You should not choose for her. And he says, let it not be a simple Swayamvara. Swayamvaras are of many kinds. This is a contest-based Swayamvara. We'll set up a difficult contest. Whoever wins the contest will be chosen by the girl. Still she has a choice. So Swayamvara is called for. Krishna's guru Sandipani himself devises a contest. The contest is, they create what is called a Matsya Yantra, that means a fishy machine. This is a simple machine which is revolving with a fish, with a wooden fish on the top. It is going round and round. Here there is a pool of oil which reflects that. They are supposed to look at the reflection, and the archer should shoot the eye of the fish, not the fish, the eye of the fish. So such a warrior or such an archer will get a chance to have the princess, but still it's her choice. So after much thinking and Krishna's pushing, Drupada agrees for this and announces Swayamvara. And the 5 brothers also hear of the Swayamvara. So does every Kshatriya in the Bharatvarsha. Just about everybody who is in the Kshatriya clan is invited so that Drupada gets the bravest and the most skillful warrior as his son-in-law, because the purpose of this marriage is revenge. He wants Drona dead, Kuru house pulled down. All the warriors arrive, including Duryodhana and all the Kauravas, Karna. But the Pandavas are still in disguise. Nobody knows that they are alive. Krishna sent his spies and found out that it was the Nishada woman and her 5 children who were burnt. So, he knew that they're not dead, but he did not know where they were. But he knew that once this news goes, they cannot resist, they will anyway come. So he also arrived with his Yadavas because he knew there could be trouble. So he came with his warriors surrounding the Swayamvara, just in case trouble breaks out, to control it. Everybody wants the hand of Draupadi. One thing is, she's an incredibly beautiful woman. Another thing is, Drupada is a very powerful king. It's a huge empire. Everybody wants that alliance. So when the contest comes, I will skip the details of this, there's a whole lot of things happening there. Everybody comes one by one, trying it out. Nobody can many of them cannot even string the bow because it's a trick bow. It's an occult bow that you must know how to string it. Otherwise, most people did not even know how to string it. So those warriors who managed to string it couldn't shoot straight, looking at the reflection with a fish which is rotating. Duryodhana is not the kind who wants to lose. So he sent out his brother, Dushasana, to try it out. Try it out, but don't win, because I want her. So Dushasana went, a very proud man and also a brave warrior. He went with great pride and tried to string it, he couldn't even string it. Then Duryodhana kept himself back because he didn't want to go and shame himself. Then Karna stepped in, was among the last of the warriors. He stepped in with the swagger, effortlessly strung the bow and just got ready to shoot. Arjuna saw who he is and he knew he can knock the fish down. His reputation is that he is a Sutaputra. Duryodhana has made him a king and included him, but still he is a Sutaputra. Krishna saw, this is not good. This is not according to the script. But he is competent enough, he will knock it down. And Karna is super confident that he will knock it down. So every time a warrior came, Draupadi glances at Krishna because she wants to know if this is the guy she should choose. She's leaving the choice to him. So every time a warrior comes, Krishna is smiling, enjoying the whole show. And she knows this is not the guy, this is not the guy, this is not the guy. Anyway, they didn't even shoot on the thing. But even if they do not shoot, she can still choose if she wants. So Krishna mildly indicating this is not him. When Karna came, Draupadi looked at Krishna, Krishna closed his eyes. He said, I'm afraid for you. because this is not according to the script, but this guy can do it. When he came close, Draupadi was standing there with the garland. Her brother Dushadumna was standing there in a protective way. So she said it loud enough for it to be heard by Karna. She said, "I don't want to marry a Suta." She did not even say Suta Putra, she said, "He's a Suta." So Drushtadumna said, my sister does not want to marry a Suta, so don't take the trouble of even trying. Shamed among all this assembly of people, Karna put his head down but gave her a vengeful glance, said, "When my time comes, I will not spare you." And he went back and sat down in great shame. Then a Brahmana, a young Brahmana stood up and he came forward and said, "Now that none of the Kshatriyas have been able to win the contest, can I make it?" Then Drishtadyumna was confused how to allow a Brahmana to compete. He looked at Krishna. Krishna dropped something that was in his hand and bent down. Drishtadyumna said, "Yes, if you wish to compete, you may compete. But all the warriors have failed, what are you going to do? If you wish, you can do it." This Brahmana came, did a pradakshina for the bow. 3 times he went around the bow, prostrated before the bow, as if it is the culmination of his destiny. Picked up the bow effortlessly, strung it and looked at the reflection. 5 chances were given for any warrior to hit the eye of the fish. He shot 5 arrows in such a quick succession, a line of arrows from the eye down. It went into the fish, split the fish into 2 and the fish fell down in 2 halves. The roar went up, one in appreciation. All the Brahmanas and the non-Kshatriyas who have come just to see the contest, they roared in appreciation. But the Kshatriyas roared in anger, "This is not fair. How can a princess be given to a Brahmana? Now a Brahmana has won the contest and we cannot kill a Brahmana because according to the Arya Dharma you can't kill a Brahmana. But it is Drishtadyumna who allowed this. Let us kill him." They all drew their swords. Immediately Bhima, Nakula, Sahadeva and Arjuna, all of them stood up to fight. Bhima plucked a small tree in his hand and smashed everybody down who came towards Drishtadyumna. Arjuna picked up the bow and created havoc around him. Then the Yadavas moved in to control the whole situation. It got controlled and Draupadi put the mala around Arjuna. Arjuna and the 4 brothers took Draupadi back to where Kunti was and she was cooking. As usual, whenever as Brahmanas they went out to beg for their food, when they came back, they always placed it at her feet and it was for her to divide the food, and always she divided it into 2 halves, one for Bhima, another for the 4 brothers. They walked in and said, "Mother, see what we have brought today." She said, "Whatever it is, share it among yourself." Then they were aghast, "Mother, it's a woman. We have brought a princess." She turned back and looked at Draupadi. She was the most stunning creature she had ever seen. She looked at her and said, "It doesn't matter, I told you share and that's it." They were completely confused. Above all, Draupadi was aghast that she was happy that, this brave warrior had won her in the contest, but now this mother says share, and the brothers didn't know how. So they came back to Drupada's palace where Krishna and Vyasa were there and a debate arose. How can 5 men marry this one woman? They said, once our mother wills it, whatever it is, even if it is death, that is what we do. We can't go back on that. If you want, you take your daughter back. But Arjuna cannot marry her separately. Either all 5 of them marry or we will give back your daughter to you. That would be a complete insult, that somebody marries her today and today evening they're returning her. That would be a complete insult for Drupada, but he is confused. Krishna doesn't say anything. With a big smile, he looks at the ceiling. Everybody tries to engage him in the debate, but he starts studying the tapestry of the palace ceiling, never says anything. So Vyasa, the sage, chips in. She falls at his feet and says, "You are a wise man, tell me how is this? How can they get me into this kind of a mess that I have to marry 5 men? What is this? This is not fair, this is not dharma and I will not do it." So Vyasa says, there are 3 options in front of you. Now you can marry only Arjuna and he will take you away. He will be in love with you, obviously. But after some time, he will resent that because of you, he had to leave his brothers and his mother. Resentment will slowly turn into bitterness. Bitterness will turn into hatred over a period of time. He said, this is how most couples live. Because initially it's a big love affair, but this love affair, somebody insists that you must separate yourself from your mother and your brothers and whatever your clan. It happens at a certain stage in life. Unknowingly, unconsciously, the man developed resentment, but because of this woman, he had to move away from everything. And especially for Arjuna, this will be 100% true. So this is your choice. You can enjoy a short span of a great love affair with your husband, and then he will invariably resent the separation and he will hold you responsible for that. Or you can reject this whole thing. You have the right to reject and say, I reject this marriage, go back to your father. But then, nobody else is going to marry you. No great warrior is going to come forward to marry you because you will be seen as charity. You will not be seen as a prize. You will not be seen as something that they want to have. You will be seen as something that's been given to them, they will not take it. You may remain a maid for the rest of your life and remain in your father's house, where your brother will resent it after some time. Or you marry these 5 men. These 5 men, if they stay together, they will make their own destiny. They will rule this land. He actually says, they will rule the world. If these 5 men stay together, they will rule the world and you can have the pride of keeping them together because you are their common wife. This is the choice you have. These are the 3 options. Choose whatever you want. Considering the choices, overwhelmed, she falls down faint. Then they revive her. Then Vyasa takes one more step and he opens up her vision into her past life. And he tells her, he makes her see that in her past life, the king of Vidarbha, who was known as Nala, nobody in India has not heard about Nala and Damayanti. Nala and Damayanti are fabled lovers and he's the best cook on the planet. He's no more, unfortunately. So Nala and Damayanti, the love affair, is a huge fable in this country. Draupadi was Nala and Damayanti's daughter in her previous life. As a young woman, she prayed to Shiva. Looking at her penance, Shiva appeared he was in a slightly inebriated state and he was generous. She saw Mahadeva appearing in front of her and she said, this young girl, "Oh Mahadeva, I want a husband. I want a just husband. I want a strong husband. I want a brave husband. I want a wise husband. And I want a very handsome husband." Shiva said, "Yes, yes, yes." 5 times. When she had this peep into her past life and she saw it is her own doing, that she asked for 5 husbands not knowing. She wanted a husband with all these qualities, but unknowingly in her excitement she asked for 5 husbands and it was granted by Shiva, and that's how it became. She married the 5 men. How to make this arrangement? So Krishna stepped in and made this arrangement. He said, let it be so that you be with one brother for 1 year and next year the next brother. During that 1 year, even inadvertently, if another brother steps into your bedroom, he has to be exiled for 1 year. He must disappear into the jungles for 1 year. He made this arrangement and the Pandavas were united in a way that they could not be broken. They have a common wife and Draupadi demanded, it does not matter, you can take as many wives as possible outside this arrangement, but nobody ever lives in the palace. So this became the unifying force, the binding force to keep the 5 brothers together and work towards the fulfillment of their destiny of ruling the nation. And now, armed with the alliance of Drupada, they went back to Hastinapura. Now the Kauravas, raging and raging, more and more shame. Above all, the dead have come alive. How the hell did they come alive? They were dead for sure, their bodies were found, there were no DNA tests, rituals were performed for the dead, they even cried and wasted their tears. And here they are back with a bang, and now with an alliance with Drupada, you cannot touch them. They are no more just 5 people. Now they are formidable foes and they got Draupadi. And on top of it, they won the contest. None of the Kauravas could do it. Karna came back shamed. Now their rage multiplied. Yudhishthira came back, now with a wife and a priest, and he is laying claim for his position as a king. So Dhritarashtra could not help it, he had to coronate him as the Yuvaraj or the next king. From there, troubles multiplied like never before. Now it was battle inside the palace. Swords were not drawn, everything else happened. The nation started suffering because there is such a big power struggle going on within the palace. Nation was not administered properly, things were going bad. Bhishma saw this and he thought, this needs putting his foot down because he is the regent, he can decide. So he said, let's coronate Yudhishthira. There's no point keeping him as Yuvaraj, let's make him the Maharaj, it'll fix it one way or the other. And let's give Duryodhana and others important positions. Duryodhana cried in shame when this was announced. He went to his father and raged and threw tantrums. He said, you brought me up as a future king, now you are asking me to be a slave. You want me to take orders and instructions from these people who came from jungles. And above all, you want me to take instructions from Bhima. He will taunt me and shame me 1,000,000 times every day. I will kill myself. So Duryodhana is threatening suicide. But Bhishma is putting his foot down and saying, Yudhishthira will be the king. This must be settled because the nation is suffering because of this power struggle going on in the palace. Nothing is being taken care of. Though Dhritarashtra doesn't really like this, he has no choice because he is only king by name, he is blind and he cannot do anything. Whatever Bhishma says, it is his word which always goes. He is the elder, he is the regent, he is the wise man, he is the warrior. It's him that everybody respects. And it is he who can really give orders when things come to a deciding phase. So he accepts that Yudhishthira will be the king. But Duryodhana starts tormenting his father. He says, "No way, I'm going to kill myself." The rest of the brothers say, "We will go back to Gandhara, that is their mother's place." Gandhara was approximately located in the current Himachal Pradesh. They said, "We will go into the mountains." Duryodhana says he'll kill himself. Dhritarashtra does not know what to do. All he knows is he wants his sons to be kings. In the meantime, Yudhishthira has spent so much time with sages, he's acquired all the scriptures and dharmas and karmas and everything, too many rules and things in his head. Always, every second word is dharma for him. He wants to be truthful, he wants to be straight, he wants to be just. He never want to make one unjust decision in his life. So when… in the court, when Bhishma announces that Yudhishthira will be the king and everybody celebrates, Yudhishthira stands up and says, "Yes, I will take the responsibility of doing everything that I need to do, but as long as Dhritarashtra is alive, let him be the king, I will take orders from him and let Duryodhana have equal kingship. After all, he is my brother." Duryodhana and his brothers, their eyeballs pop out. They say, "What? Did we hear it or is it audio problem?" Then everybody confirms, yes, that's what he said. He said, "Let Duryodhana have equal kingship." They thought, what is this bitter struggle that's been going on? Now when it's given to him, that man says, "I will share it equally." Because he thinks that is the dharma, that is justice. Bhishma looks desperate. He throws up his hands. "I have borne this nation for so long, for 3 generations. He has brought it through not being a king. He is a brahmachari, but has all the burdens of families, all the pains of the family, never knowing any pleasure of the family, but every pain of the family he has suffered, more than anybody for 3 generations. And now, when he tries to finish it for the first time, there's going to be a legitimate king for the Kuru dynasty after a span, after Shantanu. There has not been a king. Now this man does this. The brothers, the 4 brothers rage within themselves, but they have taken a vow. When the father died, when Pandu died, they have taken a vow from today, Yudhishthira is like their father, the eldest brother. Whatever he says, that will be the law for them. In this generation it's going away, otherwise this has been the law in this country. As long as the father is alive, whatever he says, the sons will simply follow. This is very reverse of what Sigmund Freud has been talking about, Oedipus complex. This is very reverse of that. It is always the older generation exerting what they want, right from Puru, Santanu and continues with everybody. It is slightly reversing with Duryodhana, otherwise it is always the older generation exerting their thing. So they took Yudhishthira as their father. Whatever he says, they'll go by that. But Bhima burst out. He couldn't bear it. After all this struggle, now there is a chance that his brother will be the king and they will be there as the power, and this man gives it up. Bhima walks out of the court because he cannot say anything against his brother, he cannot fight him. He just gets up and walks out of the court. In the meantime, Bhima he's happy. He eats well, he's happy, he likes to fight with somebody. He is not like one man, he's like many, he's all over the place, unending energy, unending appetite, unending everything. So he falls in love with a woman who is known as Jalandhara in Haryana, Valandhara in UP, Balandhara in Bengal. You know the story. This is a problem in India, okay? From New Delhi to Calcutta if you travel, if you have a name which starts with, let's say you are Vasudev, by the time you reach Calcutta, you will become Basudev. If you reach Tamil Nadu, you'll become Vasudevan. Here the end part they change, there they change the beginning. So her name traveled like this. Her name is Jalandhara here, and Bhima fell in love with her. Jalandhara is the sister of Bhanumati, who is Duryodhana's wife. Asking for trouble. Duryodhana's wife's sister, Bhima falls in love with her. A whole lot of incident, how he conducts his love affair, I will not go into that. But one particular incident where he wants to meet this Jalandhara, Valandhara, Balandhara, not possible in the palace. So he sends a note to her, he wants to meet her in the gymnasium. Because that is where he spends most of his time. Every day he is working out, building his muscles and, practicing his mace fighting. That's where they spend their time mostly. So he invites her, and in secrecy, in the middle of the night, she comes and meets him in the gymnasium, in Balia's gymnasium. Balia was a great wrestler who was over 100 years of age, and his son, Someshwar, was in charge of all the training for all the princes, all the royal clan that was there. And he meets Jalandhara there and he's escorting her back. Then he notices a spy is following. Then he catches hold of the spy and wants to smash his head. Then the spy begs him and says, "Please spare my life, I will tell you something that you will be interested in." So holding him by the neck, and the spy's legs were no more on the ground, he held him up like this and asked him, "Okay, what is it that you got to tell me?" The spy said, "Right now, I'm telling you, they're doing something. Within a month's time, you will be dead for sure." "How is it?" he asked. "How is it that I'll be dead? It is you who is going to be dead within a minute." He said, "No, no, no. I will tell you, across the river, there's an Agori. I will take you there. Right now they are performing a certain yagna. For sure you will be dead. Let me see." So with the spy, Bhima went across the river, quietly took a canoe and crossed the river, and there was a Agori hut. Agori means a certain clan of mystics who still exist in this country, who are the fiercest possible yogis you can see and the weirdest that you can see. So there was a strange Agori on the other side of the river, and nobody bothered him because he lived a very strange and odd life. They still live very odd lives that nobody understands who they are, what they are. It's a very, very different kind of cult. So Dushasana and Shakuni were sitting in front of the fire. Agori was chanting away wild mantras. So Bhima and the spy hid behind the hut and watched. After various incantations, a form appeared, a feminine form, a devi, a goddess, a very fierce form, of a goddess appeared. And now Aghori, who was in a trance, asked Dushasana and Shakuni, "What do you want? Now the Devi has come, what do you want?" So Dushasana said, "We want Bhishma dead." The Devi said, "Not possible, because he has the boon that he can choose his time of death." Then who else? They said, "We want Krishna dead." Devi said, "Not possible. He is an avatar. He will not die according to your will, he will die according to his will." These are two key elements. If these two die, everything will be in their hands. Then who? They looked at each other. Shakuni said, "Bhima." Dushasana said, "I want Bhima dead." Before Aghori could do the needed work, Bhima picked up the hut and threw it into the fire, and the whole yagna broke up. And the Aghori himself caught fire in this accident that happened. That he was pushed into the fire and he caught fire. And the Aghori just sat down in cross-legged posture and he burned without uttering a scream, without saying anything. Simply he sat there with his eyes open and his body burned itself into ashes. The yagna was broken. A strange being, even Bhima was terrified, but more than anything, Dushasana and Shakuni were so terrified, they ran away from the place. Then, this is a time to thank the spy. So, they went back to the canoe and Bhima got into the canoe, picked up the spy by his neck and drowned him in the river. Because he didn't want him to go back and tell them what had happened. And with this done, Hastinapur was ready, highly inflammable, ready for the whole city to catch fire. Yudhishthira is the real king, but he will take instructions from the Dhritarashtra, and he is sharing his power with Duryodhana, which is a horrible situation where nothing will happen.